Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the Max Danielsen Show. I'm your host, Max Danielsen, and today joining me is our first guest on the show, Ean Hagy. Ian, welcome to the show, man.
What's up? Thank you for having me.
Well, actually, it's not thank you for having me. You asked to be on the show.
Yeah. I saw the story and I knew I had to be on it.
Yeah, so I guess tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, what you do here. Of course, you go to Austin College and you're a baseball player here.
Yes, I committed beginning senior year to play baseball here. Studying business here when I go to class. It's nice here. I met a lot of the baseball guys, pretty much we're just a big family and everything, play basketball, everything like that. But the college experience, I'm ready for it.
Well, I got to ask you now, being here on a sports show, what are your teams? I know you are a humongous Mets fan.
Yes.
I know you are.
Yes, I am.
Are you an all New York guy, or is it?
Football. Got to go with the Roll Tide. Go Alabama.
College football, you mean?
Yes.
NFL?
I don't really follow NFL teams. Usually just go by game just because a lot's going on in the NFL now. It's more of a political thing and everything.
Yeah.
Hockey, got to go with the Penguins.
Are you a Crosby fan, or is it just
Crosby.
Okay? I respect
Crosby
that. Crosby is one of the best players in the NHL.
Yes.
And then what about for NBA? Is it just whoever? Or?
Yeah, just whoever. I don't watch much NBA, but I'm starting to get into the basketball thing now. Since coming to college and we play every day.
I mean, with you being now getting into basketball, I want to ask you, even before we get on to this, because now this just popped in my head, what do you think about Kristaps Porzingis and Luka this season? Do you think they're going to be the surprise team, or do you still think they're going to be out of the playoffs considering the strength in the West?
I don't think they'll make it in, to be honest with you. But it seems like every year there's always that, one or two teams that manage to surprise everyone. So
yeah, like the Kings last year. I don't know if I could see the Mavericks making it this year, but I guess the question then comes to, if they do good, can they break that curse of now getting an NBA free agent?
You just got to watch and find out, I guess.
Just got to watch and find out.
As he comes.
Yeah, well, I guess without further ado, let's jump right into the podcast with going into college football. UCF's streak finally ended, a high 27 games. They lost against Pitt this week by the score of 35-34. I need to ask you this, Ian, because I know you are a Roll Tide fan, and it's considered that UCF won the national title a couple years ago. I got to ask you, are they the real deal, or are they simply just a team out there that has a decent roster, but they play easy opponents?
They couldn't hang with Alabama at that caliber. OU can hang with Alabama. They started to come back in the second half and everything, but from the beginning you could just tell. Now Clemson is one of those teams with a lot of talent. I don't think they lost to Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Pitt's Pitt.
I mean, Pitt's not a bad team.
It's not a bad team, but it's a team you should beat.
Oh, well, definitely, especially being ranked.
Exactly. So I think they got their players, but really it's just them playing these subpar teams with a couple special guys here and there, but I don't think it's really anything of an Alabama or Clemson level.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen the story about UCF, but their coach came in to one of the worst programs in college football.
Yeah, he definitely helped the program. But they're not playing like neither does Alabama really, so I can't really say anything, but they're not playing, like
I mean, Alabama has a Heisman candidate right now.
Yeah.
Well, actually, both of the Heisman candidates were at one point at Alabama.
Exactly. So that's just like the caliber they're playing at. I don't think UCF could go to a game against Alabama and have a chance.
Well, looking back on week 4 of college football, one of the biggest games, Anthony Gordon had a humongous game. And I'm not just talking about an average game. I'm talking about probably one of the best games of the season. He went 41 for 61, had 659 passing yards, 9 touchdowns against UCLA, and they still lost 67-63. I mean, that is a performance to say the least, but it stinks, though, that they could not secure that win.
He's probably pissed off at his defense right now. That's for sure. But a game like that, the thing is there anywhere else to go but down then? 9 touchdowns? If you don't deliver a game close to that, then what are people going to start saying about you?
I mean,
was it just a flop or anything?
Yeah.
Or, it's kind of putting it like
I mean,
that
even
way.
so, just having 9 touchdowns in a game
It's crazy.
entirely, like that might go down. Even though he lost the game, that's what I was surprised about when I looked at his stat line, that they still lost the game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's just a game of a lifetime right there by him. And that's something you should be proud of, even though you lose.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt he's proud. Would he like to win? Yeah, but...
I mean, I think everyone wants to win with that.
Yeah, but 9 touchdowns? I wouldn't be too mad.
Now, one team that in week 4 should really be kicking their defense is the Michigan Wolverines.
That's my second team.
That's your second. Oh, that stinks. Wisconsin beat them 35-14. They came back. It was 0-14, and they came back 35 unanswered points in the second half. I want to ask you, since you are a Michigan fan, I'm supposing you watched the game possibly?
No.
No? Okay, well, I want to ask you then, what is your opinion about that? Do you think they should have lost to Wisconsin, or do you think they should have won?
Because Michigan, it's not a big... okay, it's a good team. Is it...
Like I mean, it's a big football school, for sure.
A big football school, but even it being a big football school, is it an Alabama, Clemson level kind of school? No. But it's close to it. So they should be winning against a Wisconsin. Wisconsin's not bad. They have their guys.
Mm-hmm.
But still, they should be walking out with a win.
Right.
But to be, having no answer to their Wisconsin scores in the second half, that is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And even the defense. Well, even at that, the defense, they're looking at their offense in that situation and it's like, are we just not going to score or anything? So kind of all just crumbled down from there.
At this point, you said that you are a big college football fan.
Yeah.
I have to ask this question to everyone that I talk college football with. Do you think it's becoming better than the NFL right now? Do you think it's bringing in better viewership? Is it bringing in better football overall? I just want to ask you that because a lot of people have different opinions about it, especially with all the political side going into the NFL nowadays. I just got to ask this.
I think it's starting to lean more towards the NFL, especially with the hits and everything. But the most exciting part is seeing a player transfer and seeing them kind of work in a system or not work at all and then go into this system and just click automatically.
Like Jalen Hurts.
Yes. Like he worked in Alabama's system, but Alabama doesn't have really a running system. It's more of a pocket passer.
I mean, plus they also had Tua, who's both of them are right now at the top for Heisman candidate.
Yeah.
And with going on to that, before we look into some of the biggest games for Week 5, I have to ask you, who's going to be your Heisman candidate winner? Tua?
Of course, Bama fan, I'm going to go with Tua.
Okay, I respect that. I mean, he is having some big games.
Oh, yeah.
Both of them, in fact, are.
Yeah.
So I guess let's look here at some of the biggest games for Week 5. And I guess I'll ask your prediction. The first game, OU, who's ranked number 6, against Texas Tech. Who do you think's going to win that?
Who do I think's going to win it, or who do I want to win it?
I'll hear both.
Who I know for a fact will probably win it, OU. Who I want to win, Tech. Just some bad blood there. So I definitely want OU to feel the pain.
Mm-hmm. Then going on, we have a ranked matchup. Number 18, Virginia versus number 10, Notre Dame. Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a pretty strong program. I think they have a stronger program than Virginia, definitely.
They're on the rise this year for football. Yeah. All right, and then let's see here. This should be the final big one. Number 21, USC versus number 17, Washington.
I'm going to go with Washington. Because I know Washington usually has a strong quarterback that can pass and receivers that can go up and get the ball. And I think UFC just coming off, their loss, they'll be in some pain and everything. And that's just a chance for Washington to come out with a win.
Well, that's good that we talked about college football. Now let's transition into what our debate was just a second ago about the NFL. I mean, it seems like nowadays the NFL is becoming a league where these players that aren't winning, they want out of the program. Two specifically I'm talking about is Minkah Fitzpatrick, who just got traded to the Steelers, and I talked about last week. And if you haven't seen last week's podcast, highly recommend going and listening to that after you get done with listening to this podcast. And then with Jalen Ramsey, who's requesting a trade, but the Jaguars don't want to trade him. They want to extend him. And there's a disconnect between that. Jalen Ramsey is now saying he's going to report in, he's going to work until he does get traded. But you can't just have a player on the roster that wants to get traded and just say, no, we're actually just going to extend you. So I want to hear your opinion about that. Do you think the NFL is becoming that way like the NBA? And if so, how can they fix that? Because honestly, when I heard that these Dolphins players wanted out, you have a guy like on the Browns, I think his name, I can't remember his name at the top of my head, but one of the greatest NFL stories, he was the guy who, and I'll probably think of it middle of the broadcast, where he slept outside the Browns facility and talked his way into,
I think I heard this story.
Talked his way into getting a tryout, made the preseason team, and actually had, I think it was a kickoff return, I'm pretty sure. And it was one of the best stories. Otherwise, I'm going to look up his name here in a second. But I just want to ask you, because you have guys in the NFL with those types of stories, and you have guys that are now on the 50 or however many players are on, I think it's either 52 or 53. Yeah. And you have these guys that don't want to play anymore. So I want to ask you, what do you do about that if you're a team, and how do you fix it?
Well, it's definitely a big problem because it's just like the NBA, like you said. Like, guys go to a team and they expect to win a Super Bowl. And when that hasn't happened in a couple years, you start to get, angry and everything. How I think they can help it, I think there should be a certain time in your contract that you can no longer be traded. So, if, let's say you have a 5-year, let's say you have 2 years in order to be traded. You can either take it the first couple years if you don't like it, or if you are sick of the first years, take it in those back years.
So you're saying to get rid of the rental idea of like players.
Yes.
That's an interesting perspective. I did find the guy. His name is Damon Sheehy Giuseppe. That's the guy. And it is, I mean, I read this story, and it is one of the best stories. I'm so sad, though. I thought he was going to make the Browns team, but then again, the Browns team, they have a lot of great receivers. So
they're looking good.
Yeah, and speaking of receivers, oh my goodness. It seems I feel like this is going to become a segment in itself this week with Antonio Brown. Oh my goodness. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So, for those of you who have no idea what has happened, in week one's edition, I recapped the entire Antonio Brown situation up to that point. But so far, what he has done, he has tweeted at people with sexual allegations, exposing them. Then he says, I'm no longer playing in the NFL. These owners don't want me here. I'm not doing that. But on a positive note, he decided to re-enroll in college and get his degree, which I respect that. He wants the best in himself. But to say he doesn't want, even the XFL, they haven't even had their first season yet. They're saying we don't even want him in the league.
Yeah.
So I just got to ask, what is next in this? I don't even know what you call it because it's drama, but it's even worse than that. What do you think is next? And if so, do you think Antonio Brown's heading in the right direction trying to get – well, I mean, he's trying to get his college degree at least.
Okay, but still, he was being a baby about the whole thing.
Well, yeah, he tried –
about the Raiders, everything.
He basically tried to get out of the NFL trying to wear a helmet from 1965.
Yes.
Okay, in the whole Antonio thing, I think the best thing that he's done is re-enroll. That's it. Everything else.
That's not even part of anything, though.
I know
he's going back to college.
I know.
Congrats.
But I know it is, but that's the best part so far for him.
I heard
on the other thing.
I heard that he was talking to Dallas. The Cowboys.
And speaking of which, I love how I get to go back onto week 1. I said the only team I can see
Is with Dallas.
because that's what Dallas does.
They pick up people.
I don't,
Exactly.
and it's not even, the reason is because of media. I both see and don't see Jerry Jones doing that. I feel like Jerry Jones doesn't want that media attention, but then he wants the media attention.
I feel like if he would have done some, I feel like they are talking, but I feel like if he was serious about it,
we would have heard about it more.
They would have made a move before the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like in the NFL, if you go to the Patriots and even they give up on you,
well, I mean,
you're out. Because they
did
didn't
you
give
hear
up on
basically
Gordon.
how he got signed to the Patriots?
No.
Bill Belichick literally signed him. He didn't go to anyone. He just said, "I'm signing him." He went to no one.
And now look where he is.
Exactly.
But the thing is, it's not like I shouldn't say now look where he is.
I mean,
It's
you
not
can.
like-
I mean, look where he is.
No, because it's not like he played bad.
Oh,
It's
no,
not like
he
because
played
was
pretty
cut
good
'cause
his
he was
first.
bad. The first game, he got a touchdown, What more could you ask for from a receiver?
I mean, even Tom Brady was irritated that they let him go.
Yeah. They let him go over. They don't want the drama of
Mhm.
all the allegations going on.
I mean, which makes sense.
Do I think he did it? No.
Really?
No. How many times has this happened to anyone, and then all of a sudden someone comes out and says something? I don't think it's true.
That's a good point. I mean, that happened with Zeke.
Exactly. So I feel like after all of this is done, all the court matters and everything, I feel like he will be back in the league.
I mean, but then again, that tweet, do you think that's going to hurt his chances of getting back in?
Honestly, anything he does right now that is not perfect is going to hurt him. But I feel like there's still going to be a team that'll give him a shot, especially like a Miami or something.
Yeah.
Someone who needs a veteran, but they're trying to start young too, because Miami's trying to start young again. But still, you need a veteran just to kind of like show them, like what's going on. So I feel like he could go to Miami.
I mean,
or
you
Dallas.
take away the drama of Antonio Brown.
Oh, then
He is probably either a top 3
yes.
or top 5 receiver in the NFL. That would be great for the Dolphins to build around, especially.
He's probably a top 10 wide receiver of all time.
Yeah, you can make a good argument for that.
Now, did his career end kind of early? Yes. I feel like he could have done.
His career. I don't know if even his career is over. If it is,
for right now.
For right now,
let's say it is. I feel like he could have had a phenomenal year with the Patriots, especially with Tom Brady.
Oh heck yeah, they could have made another Super Bowl run. In my opinion,
easily.
Now, I think what hurt the Patriots though, Rob Gronkowski just calling it quits.
And again, I heard that he might come back too.
Yeah, he tweeted out something. Yeah. He tweeted out the 2-eye thing, and everyone's like, "Is he coming back?" But
because he saw Jason Witten.
Yeah.
Do it, so he's like, "Why not?"
I mean, but then again, like the injuries he's had.
Ooh. I don't see him because he knows. I see him post stuff on Instagram, but he knows how much his body can take, and if he goes back and the hits that he took, I don't think.
I mean, he said he cured his CTE.
No.
But
the first hit he gets, he's gonna be hurting bad.
I mean, now while we're on the topic of CTE, some people have had this theory. What if Antonio Brown, what he's doing is because of CTE? Do you think that's a possibility, or do you think he's just acting crazy?
It may be that. I've never seen Antonio Brown act like this. Especially when he did the Twitter post about him like screaming about the Raiders like releasing him finally. That didn't seem to me like an Antonio Brown kind of thing to do, because I've never, usually when I see him, he's in a respectful manner, everything like that, even against like rivals, but that just didn't seem like him. So
yeah, I mean, this all started last year.
Yeah,
because like before. He didn't do it. It all started when he exposed Juju.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even exposing him. It was just showing Juju as a good teammate that he looked up to him when he was at USC.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to think. Like, it's sad because Antonio Brown is such a good football player. And like,
no doubt.
Even John Gruden said, just play football. And he released that private message, which should be an indication, just let him go. I mean, if he can't keep anything to himself or the team, how are you going to trust him in a game? How are you going to trust him when it comes down with if you're the
to be honest, I'd still trust him. He is an elite receiver. I'd still trust him. Did he make a stupid decision? Yes. But so does everybody.
I mean, he's made a ton of stupid decisions this year.
But how many? Okay, he's made a ton, but then everything that's coming at him, is it all true?
Right.
So he has a lot on his plate right now with everything. But
I mean, we'll just have to, probably within the next couple weeks, we will figure out, is this true? And if it's not true, I definitely think he's going to get re-signed.
Oh, yes.
If it is true.
I could see the Patriots taking him again.
Ooh, I mean.
I could see it.
I definitely could see it. Maybe Robert Kraft gives him a second opportunity.
Yeah.
Because if Bill Belichick is just like, sign him, Robert Kraft had to be like, okay, we'll see how this works.
Yeah.
And then he saw all these allegations come in. He's like, I don't want none of this anymore.
Yeah. I could just see him going there again. Or like I said, a Dallas or Miami.
For the Giants, they lost a big hit of Saquon Barkley, who could arguably be the best running back in the NFL right now.
Hands down. No one runs like that kid.
Mm-hmm.
He is a beast.
Like Zeke, don't get me wrong.
Zeke's good.
I think Zeke is a phenomenal player, but it's not like Saquon.
Well, no, of course not, because Dallas has one of the best O-lines in football. So, not taking anything away from Zeke, he's a great running back.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that he does is,
is remarkable.
Yeah. But he's also has a little more time to figure out what he's doing, rather than you see Saquon, line falls immediately, and he still gets past 6 dudes and gets a 20-yard gain.
Oh, he could be getting tackled by 3 guys and just shake them all off.
Yeah. What he does is just unmatched. And, you see him, he's getting pulled down, you're like, oh, he's done. And then somehow, he's running to the end zone.
I mean, he reminds me a lot of primetime Marshawn Lynch.
Yes.
Primetime Marshawn Lynch was a different animal.
You fed him some Skittles? Oh, my gosh.
So I want to add, so we know the running game's going to be down. But the question is Daniel Jones, the new up-and-coming quarterback, is he the answer for the Giants? Because I feel like the Giants treated Eli so badly the last 2 years. And now, but they do have this guy in the future and is looking very, very good for them.
I don't think they treated Eli badly. Do I think Jones is the new quarterback? Yes. They needed a new quarterback.
I mean, if anything, this reminds me of the whole Dak Prescott and Tony Romo situation a couple years ago.
Dak Prescott isn't good, though.
I think he's an average quarterback. I don't get me wrong.
If he throws it anywhere over 20, then it's whoever's ball.
I mean, and we're going to talk about this here in a bit next week, probably the best matchup that the Cowboys are going to have so far. Well, I guess unless you talk about this week where they're having to face the Saints, and the only reason I say it's not the biggest is because they don't have Drew Brees. But they do have Teddy Bridgewater.
And he's not a bad quarterback.
Oh, no.
He can still...
The stuff he's done this year...
I think he's like a Dak. A Teddy Bridgewater, he's like a Dak.
Oh, for sure.
He has his days, and then some days, he collapses.
I mean, his last game, though, was very, very good.
Yes.
I mean, it's also remarkable the story that he has of getting injured a couple years ago, not getting much of a chance, and then finally gets a chance and takes a good opportunity.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll head into that direction here. The Packers-Eagles game last night, oh my Lord, that was an absolute embarrassment for the Packers. They lost by the score of 27-34. It was looking good at the beginning of the game, but they lost Jamal Williams. But the Eagles also lost. I don't know why I can't think of this guy's name. It might also be the fact that I'm not that big of an Eagles fan, and everyone here hates the Eagles.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, I'll put it this way. The ground game of the Eagles torched, and I mean torched, the Packers defense.
And I don't know how, because the Packers have, I would say, a top 10, top 5 defense.
Right now they do, but the problem is that's in the air. They are a great air defensive team. But I watched them also against the Vikings, and I saw this with Dalvin Cook. He was just torching them. And, I don't know why I'm saying we. The Packers didn't look at that, and they're like, okay, well, we still won against the Vikings, even though they scored all 21 of their points in the first half, and then didn't respond. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was in the first quarter, and didn't respond. And now they go up against a Philly team who I wouldn't say, I definitely think they should be, but it's not that the Eagles are a bad team. The Eagles are
after winning the Super Bowl, nothing. I mean, they haven't done anything special.
Well, right. I mean, last year they also had a pretty decent run in the postseason.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've had historically a pretty decent defense, not like a bad defense, but an okay defense, and they've always had a pretty strong O-line. So the Packers knew that coming into the game, and they knew that this was what the Eagles were going to do, and that's the same thing for them. They knew they couldn't run because the Eagles' D-line is very strong. They had to work with Aaron Rodgers. And two things that just irked me the entire game: 1 yard line, 4 straight passes, they don't score. Last play of the game, they decide, oh, we're going to pass it. Aaron Rodgers tries to roll out to his right, interception. They don't tie the game. And I don't know why, but that just made me so mad because the defense just didn't perform. So now the question becomes, when they have to play a solid team like Dallas, I don't think their defense is the best. It's like the Eagles. It's an okay defense.
Yeah.
And we'll see this week because, honestly, the Cowboys have played Pop Warner teams for the past 3 weeks.
Yes.
If we're being honest.
Yes.
They're a great team. But
they're going to have to prove themselves.
Oh, for sure. Especially going up against Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
This week, we'll see. If they can stop them, the Packers are in big trouble. Because now, next week, the Packers, they have 10 days to prepare against Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do it, so I want to get your opinion. How can they do that? And how then, on the other side for the Cowboys, how can they play against the Packers knowing that they're preparing for that?
To be honest, I don't think the Packers will be ready for Zeke. Especially with the offensive threat that they have. Because, you know, Dak's mid-tier quarterback. He can run and he can throw. So, he's that dual threat kind of guy. And then you have Jason Witten back now. If you throw the ball to him, he's going to catch it. But
I mean, he's not like
the only person that I think can stop Zeke is Clay Matthews.
Clay Matthews isn't on the Packers anymore.
Exactly. That's the only person that when playing Zeke
could have
with
stopped
the Packers could have stopped him.
Now the question goes to, the Packers are very good when they play at Dallas, and we have known that. Aaron Rodgers, that's the game where he's just like, you know what, I'm gonna show out. So, and even so, how, if you're a secondary on the Cowboys, are you going to guard Aaron? Because Aaron's your best overall quarterback in the NFL. I think Brady is better than him, and I'm saying that as a avid Aaron Rodgers fan. But Brady's just better. But if you look at overall and every single point of the game, Aaron Rodgers is overall better.
Yes.
He can run. He can manage the pocket.
Oh, Brady can't run to save his life.
Well, I mean, considering his 40 back at the NFL Combine. But I don't know, because Aaron Rodgers uses his receivers well.
Yes.
He really does. But then again, the Cowboys have one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite receivers, which is Randall Cobb.
Yeah.
And you also have one of the top receivers in the game, Amari Cooper. So Dak has even more options to go to.
Exactly. That's why I don't think the Packers' defense will be good.
I feel like they're
especially without Clay. That was the only person that could stop Zeke if he ran up the middle. I feel like they're just going to pound it with Zeke, and when they need long yards, they're just going to throw it.
I feel like they'll be fine though in the air. The problem is Zeke will torch them.
Oh yeah.
Because every single time, I notice what the Eagles do. They go right up the middle, and there's a hole. 100% of the time, they get about 20 to 30 yards. So it'll be interesting how they prepare. But on the positive, this time around, they have 10 days to prepare versus the other time where they only had 4 days, which is probably one practice and extremely light. So I guess now transitioning over into the MLB, we're getting into your guy here, Pete Alonso. Monster rookie season.
Rookie of the year?
I mean, I mean, that's the next question. He has 50-plus home runs in his rookie season.
He's a monster.
He's not a 2 or 3 year guy. He is in his rookie season. I got to ask you, who is your AL and NL Rookie of the Year? I already know who you're going to say is NL, but I want to hear AL also.
Pete Alonso.
What about AL?
To be honest, I don't really know. It's kind of a toss-up. What do you think in there?
I mean,
obviously Pete Alonso will.
Oh, for sure. I think also Tatis has had a great season, but nothing like what Alonso's done.
Yeah.
I think for the AL,
it's unmatched.
Mm-hmm. I think for the AL, it's honestly going to be Brandon Lowe of the Rays. He has had a very underrated season. Now, Vladimir Guerrero, he's had a great season, but everyone hears about him. But that's also because his dad was one of the greatest hitters of Major League Baseball. And Vladimir is showing that. But you have Brandon Lowe on a team like the Rays, who are actually surprisingly doing pretty decent.
Good.
I mean, he's putting up numbers that are helping the Braves the Rays push for the postseason. I mean, while we're on the topic of the Braves, they're really looking good so far.
There's a lot of teams that came up this year. But, there's always going to be those Yankee teams, the Stros.
I mean, do you think the Yankees are going to be back soon?
I feel like they have a good shot this year. Now, saying that and knowing the Yankees, they'll blow it somewhere. But I think the Stros will come out with it.
Who do you think they would play? The Dodgers again?
Probably the Dodgers.
So you're saying the Dodgers are going to go back to back to back World Series and not win?
Yes.
Dang.
Yes.
I mean,
the
that
Dodgers
hurts.
will choke it.
I
Dodgers
know.
will choke it.
It hurts because the Rangers did that in 2011 and 2010. And my God, was that hard to watch. And I know you as a Mets fan, that happened to you a couple years ago where y'all were in the World Series and lost.
That's the Mets special right there.
Okay, I guess this. Yeah, I mean, you answered the last one, but now I was thinking about this earlier today. I gotta ask, what do you think of Mickey Callaway? Do you think it's all on him, what's happening to the Mets, or do you think they just got a really, really bad card here?
I think they just got a bad card. Towards the end of the season, they found stuff that was working. They went on, a 13-game win streak?
I want to say that. I want to say a couple.
Some crazy win streak. And everybody was happy. It didn't start like that at the beginning of the season, but, you saw once we plugged in certain pieces to where we needed to, it all came together. And then the Noah Syndergaard, trades and stuff like that, trying to find out what they were doing with him. He said he's going to be a Met for however long. So I feel like once that got out of the way, too, that helped him focus on his game. And, of course, DeGrom, best pitcher in baseball besides Max. Shazier, not you. Definitely.
Scherzer.
Scherzer, definitely. I'm not saying you, Max.
I mean, I'm a good pitcher, but I mean, if we're talking pitchers here, the Astros have 3 of these guys. I talked about this in week 1, comparing like how Lance Lynn and Mike Minor, those are guys who are like your 2 or 3 guy in a normal rotation, versus the Astros have 3 aces on their team.
Yeah.
And they also have a couple guys coming out of the minors like Forrest Whitley, even though he has a lot of work to do.
Yeah. But to be honest, the Yankees, I'm coming back to the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
If their starters can do their job and keep the runs to a minimal, hitters can hit.
I mean, their bullpen's going to do work.
Their bullpen's going to come in.
They
and
probably
close
have
the
the best bullpen in baseball.
So as long as they jump on teams early and can get to their bullpen with minimal damage done, I feel like that would be their best shot in utilizing that bullpen into getting to the World Series and getting a win.
Well, I think this will conclude the second episode of the Max Danielsen Show. Ean, thanks again for coming on. You've been a terrific guest. You gave a lot of great insight. So thank you for that. First guest, any last remarks?
I want to thank you for having me on and being the first guest. I'm kind of honored. Just a shout out to Max, my boy. Keep doing you. And go Roos.
Yes, sir. Go Roos. And also, before we end off, we want to give a special shout out to our two sponsors, Gage's Granite and Monkey Sports. Make sure, go check them out. They are awesome people. And with that, we thank you for watching. And as always, have a pleasant good morning, a good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever or whenever you may be watching. Thank you.